This book, The Source, teaches you how to trust your intuition. So it's totally relevant to what you have been teaching us all these hours.
Flow is that creative state that we all experience when we're doing something that we're passionate about. And the first thing that anyone needs to do in personal mastery is to eliminate all negative emotions, or at least you go through it and you don't let it take root. You have to have a way to manage your emotions, manage your energy, because we need energy to accomplish anything that we want in life. You have to figure out what is it that gets you into flow. But the most important thing is, what is your ultimate goal in life? What is it that you're trying to accomplish?
It's amazing how your research has blended with your knowledge of the Pythagoreans and all this ancient knowledge. Welcome to Edu Leaders Speak, the podcast where trailblazers in education share their insights and innovations. Here, we delve into the heart of teaching and learning, exploring how today's educators can inspire, empower, and transform. Today, my guest is my friend Evangeline Caridas. Evangeline was mentored by Dr. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi when she was in Chicago in 1992. And she was one of the original researchers of flow in the workplace. After she conducted her research and field testing at Allstate Insurance Company, she went on to introduce this leading-edge work in the United States. Many companies and organizations have benefited from her creativity and skills in applying flow in the workplaces. She continues to expand and develop her original work to include in her coaching practice, which utilizes flow as a foundation of personal mastery. Evangeline, thank you so much for being here with me in this podcast. It's such a wonderful opportunity to have more educators learn more about you.
Thank you, Theodora. It's my honor and my pleasure to be here. I always love meeting with you and talking about these subjects. So
yeah, we have regular meetings with Evangeline, and we love exchanging information, exchanging ideas, doing brainstorming, and learning from each other, of course. So Evangeline, there is so much to unpack. In your talks, you say flow is a choice. First of all, what is flow? Tell us a bit about it.
well, flow is that creative state that we all experience when we're doing something that we're passionate about. We're totally absorbed in what we're doing, and we have meaning, we're creative, it's fun, and time flies. An hour can go by and you didn't realize that you've spent an hour doing this. Artists call it bliss. Athletes call it being in the zone. So think of a time when you are doing something that you just love and enjoy, and you're being stretched. Sometimes it's a little uncomfortable when we're learning a new skill. However, it's exhilarating going through this process, and it is a choice. I believe that flow is a foundation piece to personal mastery, to creativity, to innovation, and of course to productivity, which is what the business community is very interested in, for people to be productive. However, when you approach people and you say, I want you to be productive, I did a workshop for a group here. I won't say who they are, but they're a big municipal group. And they wanted the people to be more productive. Well, you don't go in and say, look, we want you to be more productive. People say, we're already working hard. That's
For sure.
That's what that's what they say. So it's important that you find a way. I like to do deep breathing, and I have a process that contributes to personal mastery. One of the things that you and I have talked about, the Pythagoreans and their mystery schools and how they reached personal mastery and spiritual mastery by focusing on things that are positive. And I can give you a personal example. I have a cousin in Athens, and her husband, I remember he said to me, my wife, I've never heard her say an unkind word about anybody. And so, she's borderline sainthood, but anyway, she's adorable. And that's what she does. And I unfortunately was not that graced initially, because I had, some issues with being frustrated, and I like things to be done on time. And
Mm.
so it was something that maybe was not my best in terms of rapport skills. So I had to relax, take a breath. And if something negative happened, or if something um, that was uncomfortable happened, I had to, if I had a negative thought about someone, I canceled the thought and
Mhm.
I put love and light into it and send it out. And if I thought it had already got, you want to get it back from the energy source, the universe. You don't want things go out, because they'll come back to you. So that's one of the reasons that it's important to uh, be positive and not give in to negativity. All the ancients, including the Pythagoreans, the Essenes, Christ was part of that mystery school. I don't know if some Christians agree to that, but that's what my
Mhm.
research says. They all have a
Mhm.
school, and the first thing that anyone needs to do in personal mastery is to eliminate all negative emotions, or at least you go through it and you don't let it take root. You catch it at a thought level. That's the
Mhm.
trick, to catch anything at a thought level, because if you think it, you're going to manifest it. And my spiritual teacher would tell me that, okay, this is what happens after you pass on to the other side, that you will end up in a place with people of similar energy. So
Mm.
if you're a positive person, if you're a good person, you're going to end up with people that are like your energy. And I thought that was very interesting. And I was so blessed to have her in my life and to teach me things. And so the Pythagoreans believe that developing your intuition, and that's another thing that's very important and key with flow, develop your intuition, is what the ancients said. And they would do it in silence.
Mhm.
And that's how God speaks to you, in silence. And that's how all the meditative practices, being silent, you will develop that intuitive muscle. And I tell my executives, I don't go into this much detail about the Pythagoreans. Sometimes I do. It depends how open they are. Is that it's very important to be in silence and not give in to anything negative. And it's practice. It's practice, practice, practice. And that's with anything, any skill, any leader, uh, or anyone that's top in their field. The thing that they do, and this is even in creativity, whatever your
Mhm.
goal is that you have to practice it. And that's what the ancients believed. So the whole idea is, why do we want personal mastery? Because your life goes much easier and you can manifest.
Mhm.
And manifestation is very important. And, a lot of people talk about it, but how do you really do it?
So
You
you
do it
have, yes, so you have developed something like a checklist that helps people transition and
yes,
practice
I have a flow
going into flow
checklist
state.
that
Mm-hmm.
we can put up, or you can send out, or whoever's interested can let you know. And
Mm-hmm.
we have a creativity checklist. And you can just follow this. It's through my research and my observation, mostly, in terms of what you have to do to be in a flow state. And the benefits of being in flow is you're healthier, you're happier, and you're more productive.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to access that on a regular basis. And we have so much stress now in the world that if you give in to the stress and all the negative things that hit you every day, you're going to be miserable, and you'll end up getting sick because of it. So you have to have a way to manage your emotions, manage your energy, because we need energy to accomplish anything that we want in life. And so keeping yourself in a calm, positive state is critical. All the gurus talk about it. Tony Robbins talks about it, who is a teacher of
Mm-hmm.
mine, teacher of yours. A lot of people talk about that. And Csikszentmihalyi observed that people that are high spiritual people and high creatives are able to access this positive state. And it's important for you to know what gets you into that state. I like to walk. I like to meditate. I like to draw. I like to be in deep conversations with people that have meaning. I'm not a real superficial person, just talk about chit chat and anything. I think that's a waste of time. Of course, people think, well, you're too serious. No, I'm not too serious. I don't have a limited amount of time, and this is how I want to spend it. So you have to think, what is it that I'm doing right now? Is it getting me closer to the goal, whatever your goal is, whether it's to be of service, whether it's to start a nonprofit. I have a nonprofit that focuses on integrating ancient wisdom with modern thought and technology. And that was my goal. And it took me 10 years just to get it launched. Most people would say, 10 years, you have patience for that? Well, sometimes it takes a lot longer than that to accomplish what you want. And it's still in progress. The nonprofit, it's up, but there's always some technical issue you've got to deal with. So you have to decide what is important to you. To me, it's being of service and to be joyful and to be around fun, creative people. I love doing that. And that's why I love teaching. I love my students, helping them access this flow state. And I recently did a talk at the University of Houston. It was an online talk like this. And my professor who brought me into the university, she initiated it and she had all her graduate students there. And she just loved it. She gave me a wonderful Google review. And she never really, we've known each other for 25, 30 years. She never realized the detail about what was involved in my work and what I'd accomplished and how powerful it is to keep you, because she has some illnesses she's dealing with. And this really helps with getting your mindset. The first thing in healing yourself, if you have any ailment, is to calm yourself and to connect to that positive energy in the universe through meditation, however you want to do it, being out in nature. And that's part of how I get in flow, is I have a garden and I love going to the garden and seeing my butterflies that come from Mexico, the monarchs, when they're in their garden, and the bees. So I have a non-toxic, I don't use any kind of chemicals in the garden. So they're all over the place, the bees and the butterflies. So you have to figure out what is it that gets you into flow. But the most important thing is, what is your ultimate goal in life? What is it that you're trying to accomplish? For me, it's getting the message out about flow, because I feel that I was blessed, given this opportunity. I mean, it just happened. Synchronicity just happened. I met the right people.
Tell us more about it, because it's so interesting. Your story is so interesting in your journey. You had no idea about it before you met Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, or was it something
No, I did not have any idea. It's my spiritual coach that I told you about, Carol, that taught me how to connect to intuition and meditate and stay positive. She told me, well, you're going to go to Chicago and you're going to do something important. I said, what important? I said, I've been transferred from Xerox from Houston to Chicago. And I had no idea, but I went on faith because I was told to do it. And I said, okay, I'm just going to go for it. And sometimes you have a crossroads. If I would have stayed in Houston, I never would have met these people, done this work, gotten on my life's mission. But I had to jump, I had to leap and leave what's uncomfortable. Leave what's comfortable and do what is uncomfortable, which is, I only knew two people in Chicago. And it was kind of uncomfortable. And I went in the middle of winter, which it was freezing. And it was an interesting journey, though. I was so blessed. I met so many interesting people. And I met Frank Heckman, who helped me on this project. And he lives in The Hague. Excuse me, let me get some water. He lives in The Hague. And I took the work to the United States because we both did this project together with Csikszentmihalyi. And he was at the University of Chicago. We were at Loyola, and we knocked on his door and we said, Professor Mike, we would like to see how flow would work by creating an environment of flow in organizations, whether it be a school, whether it be a business. So I've worked with schools, I've worked with businesses to see what difference it would make. And it absolutely did. When we went to Allstate, it was proof that people love being into flow. We figured out what they did to get into flow and taught them the steps on how to do it on a regular basis. Excuse me, my voice. So we did that. And then Frank went to The Hague and I came to the States and started working with people. And at first, you know, and I also met a lady from Australia, Dr. Marilyn Emery. She is a guru in the area of social sciences. So I read about her in graduate school and I sent her my research. She called me up. She said, I think you should take my training and integrate what I'm doing with your work.
Wow.
Excuse me. So she actually called me. I mean, this lady who was just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
She said, you should get your PhD. I said, no, Dr. Emery, I don't want a PhD. I've got enough education. I need to go do something and earn a living. So I decided instead of getting a PhD that I would go out and implement flow. And that's what I've been doing.
Amazing.
So I have in organizations and gotten incredible business results. But my reason is because I know it makes a huge difference in
Mm-hmm.
people's lives and their personal mastery. And if you can achieve personal mastery, that means that you look at people that are great people, what is it that they do? And you can model their behavior. And so that's what I did. I modeled people's behavior. When I would go, for example, I had a real estate company and they wanted to they wanted to double their revenue so they could sell the business. And
Mm-hmm.
the owners were fighting. And so the way we accomplished doing that, we went to the top people in the company and modeled their strategies, which in NLP, you know, modeling people's strategies is a big thing that Tony taught us. And so you see what they do and you duplicate that. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what we did in this company. And we accomplished the goals. Excuse me again. And then I went to Bolivia. And this was a young group of people in a telecom company. And they said, you're not going to be successful in Bolivia. They're a
Mm-hmm.
polite culture. They won't tell you their problems. And so one of the things you have to do in analyzing this work is you have to see the baseline where they are and where are the gaps, where are the interferences. And so I stood up in front of the room and I said, you have a rare opportunity to uh, have your ideas implemented in this company. But if you don't
Mm-hmm.
speak up and tell us what it is, they won't happen, and you won't get to uh, experience what it is that you want. And so they went counterculture, and we were only there 3 days, and we went from 18 million. No, we went from 18 million to 24 million within 6 months, which was a goal. Then they
Wow.
filmed my work, and they went to 40 million by the end of the year, which was incredible.
Amazing.
So again, we only did it over the phone, emailing, coaching, and 3 days in country. That's
Mm-hmm.
it. And so to accomplish that was pretty incredible. That's how it's not me, it's the power of the work. And I got to this point because of practice. You know, in the beginning,
Yes.
I didn't know what to do. How do you know? How can you get 100 people to accomplish a business result in 3 days? Or how do you get a school to do what the
Exactly.
superintendent
And I
wants?
would like us to focus a little bit on that. It's not only about knowing the steps. It's about exploring and practicing the steps, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Practice is it. That's one of the main things in creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And even the ancients, the first thing would be purification, meaning get rid of negativity, is
Mm-hmm.
what the ancients said. And we went through some of that. Then you have to practice,
Mm-hmm.
practice, practice, practice.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have positive manifestation. But that takes time. And
Exactly.
to get to the mastery level, which I consider myself at that point now, after 30 years, it took many, many, many missteps. Um, Knowing how to facilitate a group is critical. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
master facilitator.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that can get 100 people to accomplish a business result, and there's always resistance. There are always issues to deal with, like you encounter in your schools. You have that. So how do you
Mm-hmm.
get around that? And using your rapport skills, getting people into a flow state to begin with. I would do that with children. Play play gets them into a flow state.
Mm-hmm.
And an individual learning plan is what we did at Palos 118. This was my favorite client, Dr. Rosemary Carroll. She was the superintendent, and she was already in the top 10% of all schools in Chicago. And she wanted to get to the top 5%. And she had lots of resistance because her teachers, her principals in the school said, we're already doing well. Why are you stressing us out? Well, it wasn't going to be a stressful situation. It was a fun situation. So they decided one of the main things that helps flow, this is an intangible, it's not one of the criteria, but we decided that I do in terms of getting people into flow, but it's a part of how I added to my creative work is trust is critical. There's a Harvard study that talks about trust and how important it is in schools and in business, anywhere, in any relationship. Trust has to be the foundation. So we decided to measure trust. So how did we do that? We'd never done, and no one had ever done that before. They knew that's what needed to happen, but how do you make that happen? So we defined trust. We had a whole checklist for trust, and it was things like you keep your word, you're on time. When we say you're going to do something, if you can't, you let people know way ahead of time, if possible, unless it's urgent or emergency. And you absolutely get people to focus, the kids to focus on an enjoyable task and let them choose their individual learning plans. They got to pick in these schools that Dr. Carroll was over, how they wanted to. I guess it's like Montessori, it's similar to that, where they had choice. And that's one of the flow criteria is choice. You have to be in control of your environment, the pace at which you work, learn, and the materials that you need to make that happen. And so we measure trust. The students evaluated the teachers evaluated the principals, and all the principals evaluated Dr. Carroll. Well, Dr. Carroll was, she was just incredible. She was the kind of person that attracted. Now, everyone needs to model someone like Dr. Carroll.
And what results were you able to achieve with that school, with the students?
We got up to 5%, 5 percentile from 10, which was the goal. And she was, her school district was the top school district in elementary and secondary schools in Chicago. And she had more valedictorians. Valedictorians are the people that make straight A's or at the top of their class or very successful, whatever they do, whenever they leave school, but they have to have the right training. So she had more of these types of students, valedictorians, in her schools than anyone in Chicago. And it was her incredible energy. She was so positive. I would call her on the phone and she would say, hello, Evangeline, how are you today? I'm so looking forward to working with you. And in her voice, it was just, you knew she attracted people. And when she would go into the schools I went with her, the children would go and grab her dress, or she's like the Pied Piper. She had all these students following her wherever she went. She wasn't part of the school. She wasn't a teacher, but they loved her so much. And it was her energy. So anything you can do as a leader, as a teacher, as someone that if you want to lead, if you want to be at the top, you have to have that kind of energy. You have to be inviting. People want to be around you. That's your positive aura, whatever you want to call it, that people are attracted to you. You're magnetic. You draw people in. And that you have to develop. And one of the first things that you do, as they learned in the spiritual mystery schools, is you absolutely have to eliminate negativity.
Yeah.
And whether you write it down.
Step one. This is your top tip for everybody.
Keep a journal of things you don't like that are going on. Put it to the side and then focus on what's working. Because if you focus on what's not working in your life, there's a lot. And all you're going to do is add more energy to what's not working. Now, is that what you want to attract and manifest? Or do you want to focus on what is working and what your blessings are? Because there's so many things that are happening to people. And you wonder, how do these people do it? Look at Jesus, what he did. No matter what was done to him, he did not react in anger, except the one time with the money changers in the temple, because he thought that they were breaking the spiritual laws by doing that. So the idea that any spiritual master, any person that achieves mastery, is they do not give in to negativity. No matter what comes at them, they turn it around and they send the energy back with love and light. And that's what you have to do. You don't have to take the insult, but you don't say it to them. You can just do it on your own. I don't accept this. I turn it into love and light. You want to forgive whatever's going on. That's how he achieved his spiritual goal, is to be the savior of the world and do what he had, his spiritual mission. So we all have a mission, whatever it is. And if you don't know what it is, and what your goal is, what you want to focus on, I tell my students, if you don't know what you want to do in life, or what really turns you on or lights you up, you keep a journal. So when I say that to my adult clients, you keep a journal and you write things down. Anytime that you see something that's interesting to you, you like it, you get excited about it, you write it down. At the end of 6 months, you see, well, what are the things that really gave me joy and energy? And then you'll have an idea about what it is that you may want to do. But that's one way of approaching it. And then you find a mentor. You say, okay, I want to be a journalist. Well, then I find it, see if you can find a journalist that will mentor you. You're going to get lots of no's. So I tell my students, every person that you talk to, even if they don't agree to be your mentor, you say, give me one thing that made you successful, and you write it down. So at the end of interviewing 50 people, you'll have 50 things that you can do that absolutely will give you a path. And when you do that, it's for
Beautiful
free.
advice.
You don't have to pay a coach to give you all that information. You've gotten it. And I certainly encourage coaching. But that is one way, if you don't have the resources to get a coach, is to at least figure out what path you want to go down.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful advice. The way you're doing it right now, you're giving us the starting point. And if we get started, then we find the next step and the next step. But
And the next, and the mentor, the next coach, whatever it is that you need. That's how it happens, slowly, step by step.
You talk about distractions. Tell us more about it. We have lots of distractions.
You mean distractions? Well, they're everywhere. I say I'm not going to turn on the news, and I get curious about what our crazy ex-president's doing. Then I go turn it on, then I turn it back off. So try and keep your day with good things coming to you. If you see a movie that's violent or whatever, I like to turn it off. I don't want it in my consciousness.
Exactly.
So those are kinds of distractions. The internet is a distraction. Your email is a distraction.
Distraction is always going to be there, right?
Yeah, and you ask yourself, how is what I'm getting ready to do right this minute going to further my goal? And then you can make a decision. Do I do this? Do I spend time with this person? Do I, go into the refrigerator and eat a piece of chocolate cake? How's that going to help me with my health diet, with my health plan?
Yeah.
You have to catch yourself at the thought level before you get into an action that doesn't serve you. Excuse me.
Exactly. So I understand well that part of your teaching for your clients is to teach them how to coach themselves out of situations, right? That are going to do bad to them, harm them, or not harm them, but
well, you have to develop that intuitive, and sometimes you have to get burned or slapped on the hand. Like, we all have situations where people disappoint us, or people lie to us, or they're not upfront. They're not credible in terms of keeping their word. So eliminate those people. It could be a family member. You can't eliminate family members, but you don't have to spend a lot of time. If they're not supportive of you and lift you up, what is uplifting to you? If it's not an uplifting situation, then you have to extricate yourself, pull back slowly. If it's a family member, whatever you need to do to stay in that incredible state. Because once you experience that, I know we did a guided meditation with your group last time. So once you experience that energy, you want to have it on a regular basis. You want to feel that joy. Even though the world is crashing around you, you have a choice how to react to it versus I'm going to give into this, oh, woe is me. my sister-in-law, she's, she watches all these crazy news channels. And whenever I go over there, I said, Lori, we're going for a walk. I said, I want this to be a peaceful time. Can we not talk about politics? Let's just enjoy the walk. So you have to coach people that are around you that you can't, I'm not going to get rid of my sister-in-law. So how do I, without criticizing her,
Exactly.
how do you say, well, this is what I think would be good for us, and I really want this. I want this to be a relaxing walk. I want this to be whatever it is, and you take the responsibility of what it is that you need. And this is how it would work for me, and I think it would be good for us if we did such and such, without getting upset, without dictating your, it's, controlling whatever it is. That's not going to work with people. But usually they'll see, my goal is to get people on, another goal is to get people on a spiritual path. And my sister-in-law has not been, and I explained to her some things that my spiritual coach had taught me, in terms of, and we don't need to get to it now, because it's about what happens to people that want to ascend, and she ascended. She didn't have to go through the difficulties of going through the death process, but that's a separate issue. But people are curious, what happens to you when you transition to the other side? And as I said, you want to keep the Egyptians, and Pythagoras was taught by the Egyptians, said your soul has to be light as a feather. So you have to eliminate and lots of being, in order to transition to the other side.
And leave the baggage behind, right?
Do what? Yes, the bag. That's what we're.
Behind.
Well, that's what this earth life is about. You eliminate negativity. You uplift your spirit, and the higher spiritual evolution you can, the easier it's going to be for your life. And then when you transition into the other life, that's how it works. Like attracts like.
It's amazing how your research has blended with your knowledge of the Pythagoreans and all this ancient knowledge. You have been, both of us, we are really interested into that, but you have done lots of research into what the ancient Greeks were saying and Pythagoras. And tell us more about it. What did they engage? Like, what does your research in that? What have you found? What does your research say?
Well, in order for the Pythagoreans to accept an initiate or a new student, there was a testing process. Oh, excuse me. And so they would set up situations where they would get frustrated and could potentially get angry. And like they'd put a student in a small room with a slate, and he had to figure a very difficult mathematical problem. And so one student just got angry, threw their little tablet down, and was upset with the teachers. And so that obviously he was not going to get into the school, because he didn't have the values, the ethics, and the temperament to be able to go through what they were going to go through, because they were silent for years, meaning they could not speak in public because their teachers thought that they didn't have anything profound enough to say at this point. So the discipline to be in silence for years. And why did they do that? The Pythagoreans believed that you developed your intuition. That's how all the great philosophers and all the great scientists in Greece, they had to download this information. It just flew in the window. No, they meditated, they focused on the light. And that's how our intuition, our higher self, God, whatever you want to call it, speaks to us through our intuition. So we get an inkling, like, through my intuition, I knew that it was the right thing to do to go to Chicago. There was no there's no outer evidence that was what I was supposed to do. But inside, if you develop that quiet, still voice, you will get the information you need to run your life in a way that's going to help you manifest and reach your goals, whatever your goals are. So that's what they would do. They kept them in silence, and they had teaching in the morning, teaching in the afternoon. They were strict with their diets. No animal products. They had honey, figs. I guess they had bread for sure. And they just ate and vegetables very simply and cleanly. And that's what we have to do now. If you want to live to an old age, and I know there are places in Greece like Zakynthos, it's part of the blue zone, and Samos is supposed to be part of the blue zone, that you eat right, you eat healthy, you maintain positive connections, clean air, clean water, and a positive supportive environment will give you a long life. And not in these big cities where we live with all the pollution. You have to get out where there's clean air. And that's what the Pythagoreans emphasize, the purification process of eliminating negativity, eliminating any kind of bad habits, eating right, thinking right. And so at the end of that, they would get initiated, and they would be given more of the mysteries, because they did not trust the young initiates to be able to handle the mysteries, because they would do healings, they would do powerful work in their healing temples, and you had to know how to deal with the energy, because they would use energy to heal and herbs, but the energy was the most important thing. So the healer would have to bring the energy down. I don't know if any of you have done Reiki or hands-on healing. A lot of the nurses here in the United States use healing touch, and I learned how to do that. So, and you can do it to yourself. I pull light down from the heavens. I create an energy ball, and I put it wherever I'm having pain, like if it's the side, the tummy, wherever, my head. You can actually get rid of a headache by lying down and doing a meditation and pulling in energy and deep breathing and asking for the light to heal whatever part is ailing you. And so the ancients did this. But people are doing it now. So those traditions have been passed down from generation to generation. And Pythagoras also knew that, I mentioned this to you before, that the Greeks had an incredible spiritual mission. And the Greeks were kind of undisciplined. You had your city-states fighting each other. And so he warned them. He went to Delphi and he warned the priests and priestesses that you have to hold the energy for Greece, that absolutely we're going to be attacked. And so even though it's a stronger foe, we can be victorious if people are united. And just like in Thermopylae, they were willing to die for freedom and our democracy, and not be under the thumb of the Persians, because they didn't believe in freedom and democracy and what the Greeks were doing. They were absolutely tyrannical. And so it would have been a different world had the Pythagoreans had Pythagoras not gone to the Temple of Delphi and trained the priests and priestesses. He initiated them into his order. And so they were able to guide the people into what to do. So they won in Thermopylae, they won in, I don't remember the name of the naval battle, but the Greeks beat the Persians, and the Greeks were victorious over a foe that was so much stronger than they were in numbers, but the strategy and the brain power and the intuition and the guidance that they got absolutely brought them to victory. And Pythagoras predicted that if you hold the energy and you guide the Greeks and the people, we will be victorious. And they did it wasn't just for the Greeks, it was for the future of humanity. Just think, if we never had, the Western world wouldn't be the same had they not done that.
Exactly.
So it's interesting how the thread works of your actions and your thoughts and what you do. So everything we do, everything we think, everything we do, all our actions actually have an effect on the planet. And so that's why it's so important for us to be positive, to draw in energy, do whatever gives you light and uplifts you, the people, as we mentioned, who you are around, what you do in your spiritual practice.
On an individual basis. And
yes, and then in a group basis.
Without an expectations of what the others should be doing.
Exactly.
Right? Yes. So everybody should be focusing on themselves, and then the magic is just going to happen to spread.
Well, you do it with groups. When I work with groups, my mission is to uplift the energy and uplift the consciousness of that group. So when they leave, they've learned something new. They've absolutely tuned into their own personal power, and they're on their way to personal mastery. That's what I do in my workshops. And it's very powerful, and it's very rewarding to be able to do that, and you be a conduit and a vessel for that kind of transformation.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for these insights. It's always a pleasure to learn from you, Evangeline. What our audience is teachers and leaders in education. What is one tip you could give to them so that they can spread your word to their students?
Well, practice and being positive and eliminating negativity. Learn how to get yourself in a flow state. We have the checklist you can share with people if they're interested.
Yeah, for sure.
And I have an additional process that if people are interested, I can share that with them as well. I didn't send that to you. Well, you may, no, I think it's in that
you will,
the
I will
article.
Share your, yes, I will share your contact
workplace.
details. I will share your contact details with my audience, and the people can reach out and you can connect and teach them whatever they want to learn from you. Yes.
Okay.
So there is a game I play every time with my guests, and I have a pile of books I have read or I intend to read. There are a couple of them I haven't read yet here. So I'd like you to pick one book, and then we're going to play a game. I don't know if you can read the books or you can just give me a number so I can pick the book. Just trust your intuition.
I like the top one, the source.
The top one. Okay.
Yeah.
The source is from Dr. Tara Swart. I love her. I always enjoy watching her videos and podcasts. So now pick a page.
Me?
Yes.
Pick a page?
Yes.
Okay, page 10.
10, all right. And a line?
5.
Line 5, all right. So I'm going to read out, and we're going to comment on what line 5 says, okay?
Okay.
So, I've been so badly hurt in the past that I have totally shut off from ever meeting anyone special. This is from the chapter, The Source and You, and it's on the topic of relationships. So it's obviously what people are saying. Take a look at the statements over leaf and see how many resonate with you. If you find yourself nodding your head, this book is for you. So I'm going to read it again. I've been so badly hurt in the past that I have totally shut off from ever meeting anyone special. How does this resonate with you, or what are your thoughts on that, or your advice on that? Somebody who says that.
To say you're never going to do something. I mean, I've been in that space. We've all been, if you've lived long enough, you've been in that space.
Yes.
I would just encourage the person to be open. You don't have to get married to somebody. You don't have to whatever, but you learn from those experiences, those past experiences. People will tell you who they are. Just say, open their mouth and they'll let you know. And if it's a person of the opposite sex, you just have to have your checklist and your radar. Whatever it is that you are looking for, there's certain things that they say, certain things that they do, their behaviors, or they consider it. You have to know your own personal values and what your criteria is to be involved. And then, I just have friends, male friends. That's the best thing to do. Start with a friendship, and people will tell you who they are. And if men aren't willing to hang around long enough to become friends with you, then you don't want to be with them, because that's the first criteria and the foundation of any relationship, any serious relationship. If you can't be friends, forget it, because the romance and the passion is not what fuels a long-term successful relationship. It's important, but that's not, eventually we get older, we're less attractive. So what happens then? You're going to leave, which happens a lot. People leave each other for one stupid reason or another. Well, you have to see what is the person's character.
I will say that people will tell you who they are, believe them, the first time they tell you who they are, right? Don't wait for 10 years to believe.
Yeah, and pick up on the cues, you know.
Exactly. Pick up the cues.
Sometimes I was hard on picking up on the cues because I liked the person or I thought I liked the person, you know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
there were clues and there was danger ahead. And so you have to be
We've always
aware, self-aware.
Yes. We've been there. We've all been there. And this book, The Source, teaches you how to trust your intuition. So it's totally relevant to what you have been teaching us all this hour.
Well, put it in the
I will.
yeah.
I will share for
The
sure.
feedback.
Yeah. So Evangeline, thank you so much for being with us today. It's been a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, we'll do it again.
Yes,
We
we'll
should
do it
set up
again.
we should set up a series.
Yeah, a series of podcasts just about spirituality, right? And how it can be blended with science. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Evangeline.
Thank you.